Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Star Wars Minute. It's your daily podcast in which we analyze, scrutinize, and celebrate the rise of Skywalker 1 minute at a time. I'm Alex Robinson from alexrobinson.fun.
I'm Pete the Retailer from PeteTheRetailer.com.
And I'm Jeff May from Jeff Has Cool Friends. Tom and Jeff watch Batman. You don't even like sports. You don't even like this show. I Must Break You. You don't even like sports cards. Did I get them all? Ugh, fine. Nerd. So many podcasts and videos. So many.
I like how so many of your shows sound like two people arguing with each other. Nerd. You don't even like it.
The original title for Nerd was Shut Up Nerd, but it turns out that was actually already taken, but nobody had used Nerd as a podcast title before.
Wow.
So it's just Nerd. It's like someone yelling it at you. And then, like you don't even like sports.
As they drive by.
You don't even like sports is because it's a sports podcast, but most of our fans hate sports. So they're basically like comedy 30 for 30s. And then Ugh Fine is because I finally gave in to my co-host Kim Krall, who had been asking me for years to do a podcast with her. So yeah, you're right. They are very combative. And that is the energy that I bring to every podcast.
I feel bad for, it's like usernames. In the future, there's going to be no podcast names left because every combination of words will have been used up in 5 years. So.
Yeah, going to be a lot of copyright infringement happening down the line.
Right. Yes. Well, thanks for coming back and taking time out of your busy schedule to do a podcast with us today.
Thank you. It's not a busy schedule. I'm never prepared for podcasts.
We are discussing minute 107 today. Minute 107, please turn to your hymnals. And minute 107 starts off with Janna watching as the body of a soldier slams against the conning tower of the Star Destroyer. It ends a minute later with Lieutenant Tice asking Poe what a bunch of fighters can do against a Star Destroyer.
It's like, have you ever seen a Star Wars movie before?
Come on, that's a 1 in a million shot. They can't.
I mean, didn't Hobby accident his way into destroying the Executor and the Death Star?
Was that Hobby?
I think it was Hobby in his A-Wing.
I never put that together.
And smashed into the bridge and causing it to crash. So even it's the tiniest of the snub fighters, and it took them out. So yeah, I can probably get fact checked on that, but I think it was Hobby. That what you said though, when you talk about how it starts, is a good reminder of how grisly Star Wars is, and we never pay attention to it, and how Return of the Jedi is really where it amped it up. Where like in the first, it's always like blaster or lightsaber. That was how people got harmed. And then in part 3, and Luke's like, I'm going to throw this guy into a tree at 300 miles an hour. And you're like, that is so grisly. Like or like a Rancor eating someone like a candy bar. Like the deaths in these PG movies are so filthy and grisly and dark.
Yeah, I feel like I maybe the prequels, obviously they have their own darkness too. But I feel like in the Disney era, that's when I really noticed a lot more of like a lot more shots of stormtroopers smashing into things, or like it seems like there's more emphasis on what is happening to the person who is being killed as opposed to just Luke shooting and you see a guy just kind of like, fall to the ground in the background.
Yeah, it's like watching Return of the Jedi as an adult is definitely one of those very jarring moments where you're like, these are so much darker than I remember, because I know what happens when you're in like a car accident. So to like throw somebody off of a speeder bike going at full speed and they just hit a tree, like that armor is now just filled with liquid. Like that, the man inside of there popped. Like
that makes it easier for the Ewoks to eat them later.
Yes, right. Yeah, it's just a nice puree.
Go.
So when you saying like it starts by seeing a trooper smash into a tower, and you're like, that guy had like dreams. Like it's so different when you see like a really dark death happening.
Yeah, I like that you emphasize that it's because now we know what it's like to be in car accidents. Like I want to see like a stormtrooper lifting a heavy box and then being like, and then all the old people in the audience are like, oh yeah, I can totally relate to that.
I very much relate to that. Yeah, like I think there was an episode of like Star Trek: The Next Generation where Worf just had like a couple boxes fall on him, and it was like he was like paralyzed and stuff. And I was like, that's the most relatable thing I've ever seen in Star Trek. My back hurts. I want to die. I was like, hell yeah, man, I'm in.
Yeah, I feel that. I've been handed an update. The A-Wing pilot in question is actually Arvel Crinid.
It was
Crinid.
Arvel Crinnig.
Arvel Crinid. And Arvel Crinid was played by Hilton McRae, who was married to Lindsay Duncan, the voice of TC-14 from The Phantom Menace. So,
wow.
It's a really Star Wars family here.
Pure nepotism.
That's
how she got
bad.
that role.
I thought it was Hobby this entire time.
I like it better as Hobby. Let's go with Hobby. Let's say that's Hobby's real name was Arvel. Jones,
because he was Rogue 4, right? He was Rogue 4, and then I thought he got graduated to like the Green Leader or something like that in return. But
he may have. This was Hobby was. I mean, Arvel Crinid was. Does it say what green? He says it was in Green Squadron. Again, this is my problem with Wikipedia, which is.
Well, it's all good. I mean, I don't want to distract your minute with a minute from a different part of a movie that you guys did like 4 years ago or something.
Other than Wedge, I'm trying to think. One thing I wish there had been more of is kind of like a stable of pilots. I mean, I guess a lot of them get killed, but I feel like I can't. Other than I'm trying to think of who Snap Wexley obviously managed to survive all 3 movies. Did that Abedno guy make it? Are there any other pilots from episode 7 that are still in this film? And I wish there were, if there aren't.
Nine Nunn, who survived Return of the Jedi and this. Yeah.
Nine Nunn, yeah, true.
And I'm sure 10 Numb is also in there.
Could be.
When she's not piloting Blue Squadron 5.
Is Ten Nuns a lady?
I believe Ten Nuns was a lady Celestin.
Go figure. She's a.
But again, I was wrong about Hobby. So.
Well, she's
you're just throwing out all sorts of
Yeah.
fake news out here.
Yeah, you don't know. I know that she that character was Blue 5's pilot, though.
Well,
so are nine nun brother and sister unrelated, or husband and wife?
Who knows? Or they
or
could
father
be,
and
we don't know.
Father and father, parent and child. I guess too.
I don't think we know enough about Celestin family structures and society to understand. They might be clan members, not that clan, but clan with a C.
Could be
very different. Could be the word the other way.
Yeah. None could mean fighter, pilot in Celestin, for all we know.
Or it could be like San, like in Japan, like it just means Mr.
Oh my gosh. Clearly more Celestin information is required.
Well, I kind of said that as a joke like a week or two ago. I was like, oh, how come we don't get a new, like they didn't update that. We just got 9 Numb. It was good to see him, yeah, but like we should have had the way we do in this minute. We see Aftab Akbar because they had planned on being like, oh, can we have Admiral Akbar in it? They're like, no, we killed him in the last movie. Like, what if we just make like Junior? Admiral Akbar Jr. And I feel like we should have had like, 11 Nunn or something like that.
A fun size Akbar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, by now it would have been probably like 26 Nunn because, 8 and 9 were, 9 and 10.
Well, what if you add, 19 Nunn? There you go. 19 Nunn, who's the teenage son of 9 Nunn.
Yeah, he's 19.
Yeah.
Paul Hardcastle taught us that.
Mm-hmm. But yes, how come they haven't made an Admiral Akbar? Like, how come they haven't made a candy bar, an official Star Wars licensed candy bar? We had the.
Oh, I thought you meant like a drink, like a bar to go to drink.
Well, that too.
Yeah,
that was an old thing. I think having a bar and naming it the Admiral Ak.
Yeah, I feel like I think Disney's lawyers are the reason why.
Oh yeah, you think?
Well, I think the drinking part, but they've made candy before. They used to make like the heads full of candy back in the 80s, and they've made other Star Wars candies. They need to make an Admiral Akbar.
Like
a candy
popular character, Admiral Akbar.
Yeah,
popular meme, Admiral Akbar.
There you go.
Yeah,
turning memes into candy that's an untapped market.
Memes are the candy for the soul, really.
So this is when Jannah and Finn blow up that tower. Mm-hmm. The navigation tower that is the Pete, you're shaking your head in sorrow. You really like the tower?
Yeah. R.I.P. to a real one.
I miss that tower. No, there's some choices in here, filmmaking wise, that really bother me. I call it, I hate this kind of a thing, and it's minor things that bug me, and I call it kind of like directing in crayon, where it's just like, I'm going to blow up a thing, so I have to show you a close-up of my finger pressing the button on the bomb, whereas if I just showed you, like, they just showed me them kind of going over to the thing and throwing a belt in there, and then they ran away and it blew up, I could put 2 and 2 together that there were bombs on that belt. You don't have to like zoom in to be like, here are bombs, and I'm pressing the thing on the bomb, and we're starting the bomb, and then I'm going to run away from it and say, this should do it, as I press the button. Like, you could just show me them throwing a thing in there and it blows up. I don't care what it looks like. I get the idea that it was a bomb.
Yeah, that ties a little to what I said the last episode, where it's just like, you guys don't have to show everything. Like,
right.
Like, people fill in the blanks. Like, your brain visually fills in blanks of things when they're out there. So your brain will fill out in those like script blanks and just be like, yeah, man, we got it. Like, he dropped a bunch of beeping orbs on a belt down a hole. We don't need to also see the button pressed. We figured it out. This is not the first movie we've ever seen.
And you don't have to tell me that that'll do it also.
At the risk of sounding elitist, is this because we are smart and they are like, well, not everyone's as smart as you guys. We kind of need to dumb it down for this movie has to make $1 billion all over the world. We need this to be as... And a lot of times children are seeing this who haven't seen him build much of movies and might be like, wait a minute, why did a belt blow up that tower? Do all belts blow up? Is my belt going to blow up? And then it's a big mess.
First off, I resent you assuming that I am smart. I take umbrage with that. But second off, I think they think that the average moviegoer is infinitely dumber. Like, to not, like, if I was 6 and I saw them drop a belt of glowing, blinking orbs down in there, I'd figure it out. Like, any 6-year-old could figure that out. Nobody would be like, what? If it was, I think they think your average movie watcher is like a 4-year-old.
I mean, not even that. Empire Strikes Back, when Luke kind of goes up to underneath the AT-AT and opens up the belly, and he just takes something out and throws it in there. You don't get a close up of him being like, this is gonna blow that up and pressing a button.
I never understood what was going on in that scene. I never understood what he threw up there and why it blew up, and like I thought they were gonna explain it later in the movie.
They did in Return of the Jedi when they go, he's holding a thermal detonator.
Oh, there you go.
We're like, that's what he did last time. Okay. All right. It's been 3 years, but I get it now.
Tying up all the loose ends.
All right. 1980 is finally making sense now in 1983. I get it.
So the tower's destroyed, and now the Colonel Pride and his friends they stop firing the guns because they're all preparing to do something, and I don't know what it is.
They had to reset
the plot
because the tower is destroyed. The tower got taken out but not destroyed. Right? They blew up the relay that went to it or something, so they had to like basically turn it off and on again. And so it has to reboot.
Doesn't it like fall down and stuff?
Their space router went out, so they have to unplug it for 30 seconds.
Exactly, yeah.
Huh.
No, it's just they blew up like the basically the power relay to it. So if they turn it off and turn it back on again, then it'll find a new the energy will find a new pathway to it and it'll boot back up. That's why there's a time lock.
This was all for this accomplished nothing then, in other words.
It gives them some time.
Here's something I'm going to say.
But the ship we already established the X-Wings can't destroy the Star Destroyers. If it takes half an hour, who cares? They have a fleet that can blow up planets.
But they're waiting even if they lost else to
10 ships.
They're waiting.
No one is coming.
Yeah, well, that's
you guys.
Anyway, Jeff, what were you going to say?
You've seen Deadpool, right? You've seen the movie Deadpool, right? It's delightful. It's a fun little romp, right? Deadpool is the first movie that said to themselves as they were making it, "What is the internet going to say about this movie?" And they were very much aware of things. I mean, the big thing they were talking about, obviously, was honest trailers. They've gone out. They've literally said, we wanted to make an honest trailers proof movie. More filmmakers now need to understand that there are so many What Cultures and Joe Blow, all these different pundits, Star Wars Minute, Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, all these different there are how many rewatch podcasts exist? How many pop culture things are out there where people dissect these things. When you throw this like weird jargon that doesn't actually make sense, and they're like, oh no, we have to slightly. They had to know that there would be like 3 white dudes talking about it on a podcast, right? Like how can you not say like, hey, this plot device doesn't make any sense? And they're like, well, I'm sure there won't be 15 podcasts every year talking about it. Like,
but they probably don't. I mean, I feel like all the podcasts in the world are just like a belly on a barnacle on the giant belly of, I'm sure they're just like, oh, a bunch of nerds are going to get mad that a plot thing doesn't make sense. Like, but who cares?
But egregious plot holes. Like, I don't think J.J. Abrams really wants to set out to get made fun of. Like, remember how like the internet made fun of him for lens flares, and so he stopped doing it? He like kind of pulled back.
He cut back a lot. Yeah, he didn't stop completely.
Yeah, but he really pulled back because he's like, really, you know what? They noticed, and here we go.
Yeah.
That when episode 7 came out, and everybody's just like, this is the same damn movie. Like, we've already seen this movie. Like,
yeah,
it's almost like the lessons don't get learned for this. Like that they were, or it was like too many cooks in the kitchen or whatever. People, if the internet is correct, then Kathleen Kennedy probably walked in and ruined the entire movie before leaving and saying, I hate Star Wars and I hope it's ruined for every guy on the internet. But like,
and she went, and disappeared in the cloud.
I'm bad at my job, which is why I've had it for 35 years.
Which is why I made all the movies you do like as well.
Yeah. But it does seem to me like this could have been a lot more Teflon if they had just if they had just done one more pass on the script and just been like, well, okay, they're going to make fun of this because it doesn't make sense. And also this is not going to fly. And also that like
they fly now. Though.
Yeah.
They do fly now. Yeah.
It's going to fly.
They should just hire like a squad. They finish the script and then they hire, a team of internet nerds to go through it and be as vicious as possible, pointing out inconsistencies and flaws. And
I think if Patton Oswalt was just on retainer for Disney, where they show him like a script and they're like, can you just look at this? Like, because they do Punch Up. Punch Up is like a common thing. And I know he's done it a lot, where they were like, hey, is this? And he would tell you every single thing that's wrong within 30 minutes of finishing that script. He'd be like, let me tell you everything that people are going to have a problem with. And I know you can't.
I feel like...
Go ahead.
I was going to say... Well, I feel like I've heard stories about like a movie that like a historical movie would say, okay, we're doing a movie set in the, Civil War, so we're going to hire Ken Burns to come on and be our thing. And then Ken Burns would be like, well, this didn't work. And they're like, well, we don't care. We're trying to make a movie, and making the movie is the most important thing, not historical accuracy or any of that stuff like that. So I feel like they wouldn't even listen, even if Patton Oswalt did point out things.
I also add, here's the thing is that there is no historical accuracy in a Star Wars film. So that's beyond that. What? Like, I also I feel like this. I don't like when art takes notes from fans, like when fans demand something and they're like, okay, we'll make the movie the way you want it. Which is how we got in this mess in the first place, because everybody was so mad about The Last Jedi for being unique and taking risks and being daring, which is something that we never want in a Star Wars film.
Only in retrospect. Only when it's 30 years ago do we want it to be.
Oh, yeah. Only on its big anniversary do we be like, Attack of the Clones is actually pretty good. Which, don't get me started on that. But I don't think that studios, and specifically, I don't think artists, not studios, but artists, should have to change their art for fans. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, if somebody who is knowledgeable in this world looks at something and says, this doesn't make sense, like it's not, or like, this is so confusing and dumb, everybody's going to talk about it on a podcast and you're going to look really stupid. Then you'd be like, all right. I'm not saying listen to gaggles of fans, because fans are the stupidest people. Like, fans en masse.
We are.
We really are.
We're so lame.
We are. Just look at the harassment campaign of trying to get Zack Snyder to come back. Like, I wouldn't trust fans to know what is good art, but I would trust somebody who's like an artist and a fan to look at something and be like, well, that's just not going to work. That's going to be wrong. Not, I don't like this. It's not my pacifier. Give me my bottle. I'm a precious baby. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is like, hey, did you guys notice that this thing doesn't make sense, and that you literally just had Finn say they've got to turn something off and turn it back on like your Wi-Fi router.
Well, yeah, even if it's, like having somebody outside the production just to look at it at the end, nerd or not, like preferably nerd, obviously, preferably somebody who's, knows more in the public and hopefully not afraid of losing their gig,
Yeah, I'll do it.
Here, we want you to read it, and then if you come back and be like, oh, this doesn't make sense, they're going to be like, oh, we thought you liked us. Never mind, we're not going to hire you again.
We'll just show them the rough cut and just be like, this is what we were doing. Because,
there's something harrowing to imagine. Yeah. What if this is the second pass version? What if there was a version and Patton Oswalt has already gone through it and got rid of the most egregious things that they could have possibly gotten?
Yeah, right. Yeah. So they definitely cut the flashback of Palpatine making Rey's parents.
Yeah. Well, that'll be in the special edition.
That was an NC-17 that we got.
Yeah, that's an adult film.
I will say this though, you mentioned him earlier. We do get some snap in this minute.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
So you were telling us in the green room that you were a big Grunberg head.
Hey, where my Grunberg head's at, baby? Yeah. I have 2 Star Wars autographed cards. I'm not sure if I showed you the other one I had last time. I didn't bring it into my recording space, but I also have a Elan Sleaze Bagano autographed card.
Oh,
because of course I do. Like
sure.
The fact that they created that character and gave him that name, I'm like, this is my favorite thing, because it is really the greatest example of nobody telling George Lucas to calm down.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're like, we're going to take that nerdy kid from the Matrix and make him a cigarettes dealer.
I love that guy now, theoretically for the rest of his life, can go to Star Wars conventions and make, a few bucks just because of this tiny little thing he did 20 years ago.
And
oh man.
Yeah, because he was like Neo's protege in the Matrix sequels.
Right? Oh yeah? I don't remember, but
I looked it up. Like I didn't know that off the top of my head.
Didn't even know he had a protege.
But like the fact that George Lucas came in, created this character, made him look like somebody from like a bad sci-fi commercial.
Yeah.
And he's like a black market cigarette dealer. Like everything about that is so silly. And then he's like, and his name is Elan Sleaze Bagano.
I feel like that was a Jet Lucas contribution. Like he's like, Jet, what should I name this character? And he's like, name him Sleaze Bago.
I can ask Jet that if you want.
Great. Oh, are you friends with Jet Lucas?
Oh yeah, I know Jet.
Oh, okay.
I can text him and be like, did you name Elan Sleaze Bagano?
Yeah. I'm sure he's sick of answering that question, but yeah, go ahead. If you want to risk your relationship with Jet asking him that, go ahead.
Yeah. Taller than me, by the way.
Oh,
I'm a big guy. I'm like 6'4".
And he's bigger than you.
He's taller than me.
Take back everything I said. He's a really cool guy.
He is a large, a tall man. Yeah.
Yeah.
But not the guy that punched you in the face.
When I met him, it was just like, this is my friend Jet. He works at Heavy Metal. This is back when he was working at Heavy Metal. I was like, oh, it's nice to meet you, blah, blah, blah. And then later, somebody's like, yeah, that's George Lucas's kid. I was like, okay, yeah, now I recognize him. All right.
Right.
Okay.
He's a lot taller than he was when he was killing troopers in Order 66.
Yeah. He's grown. My, how you've grown.
Sorry for name dropping.
That's okay.
That seemed very Hollywood of me. I apologize for that. You can edit that out if you want.
Well, speaking of name dropping, we got 2 officers here whose names seem to not be available. I cannot find it. I'm not sure. Maybe Alex, you can check the Star Wars visual dictionary there. But we've got the final order officers who say, we're the one who says, "We're offline, sir." I was not able to find that guy's name. And then Turner Pride is just like, turn it off and on again, and talks to another guy, like older officer, who's just like, minutes away, sir.
Yeah, those are download the essential update.
Those are pit guys, right? Those are those guys that are in the recessed pit.
Yeah,
they always just have to hang out down in their little experience, their little like their parlor.
It's full of pennies and gum wrappers down there.
They have like it's like a 70s parlor where there's like a fire pit in there, and it's like a recessed couch.
Is that? I mean, obviously, we first saw this in Empire. Is this based on any real like military thing? Is this a thing in like battleships where like the admirals walking around the top and there's guys underneath, people underneath?
It's not just in Star Wars that they do that too. Like I think they did the same thing in Avengers on the helicarrier, right?
Helicarrier.
When they walked in, I seem to recall that being the case. So maybe,
but then they just take that from Star Wars.
I don't know. Like Star Destroyers also just look cool and dumb at the same time. Like who knows?
Yeah, no, I was just wondering if this was something they took from real life or not.
Yeah,
I'm surprised more, like tech companies haven't adopted that for their offices.
Totally,
It'd be very hard for their
just walk down the.
It'd be hard.
It's probably not good for OSHA because there'd have to be barriers along the edge and stuff like that. Right. So
or their nap room and half pipe. That all these places are like. We like to think we're more of a family here.
Do you think do the people in those pits get into it from the top? Do they like have to jump down into it, or is there like doorway that goes underneath and they have to kind of crawl under? And
I bet that's a metaphor for climbing the corporate ladder of the military.
I think there's even a deeper pit beneath those guys.
Yeah, there's even a lower pit where you have like ensigns. Your little Wesley Crushers are down there, Your little evil Imperial Wesley Crushers running around trying to help dominate the universe.
Those are the ones doing all the real work. It's like if you go see like the Rolling Stones or something, where it's like the guys that you don't see under the stage are the ones playing the actual music for the most part.
Oh, is that true? Are you breaking this story?
No, that's a known thing that they do that. A lot of big bands do that now. That there's. Am I breaking it for Star Wars? Or am I breaking it for the Rolling Stones?
No. Are you breaking it for? Is it public knowledge that they are just miming the instruments?
Oh no, they play along, but just their parts so they don't have to fill like most of the sound. I don't know if it's the Rolling Stones or I think they're an example of one of the ones that do it. But a lot of bands, a lot of like name bands that you go see at a stadium, will have a bunch of musicians under the stage playing the heart of the song. Like the bulk of the song, the bulk of the sound that you hear comes from these guys. And then the ones that you see on stage, the names that you recognize that are playing along, like you'll hear them, they can play, but like they're not responsible for like keeping up the actual like part that of the song.
What's funny to me is I never thought of that, and that makes perfect sense. And also, why would I think a 95-year-old Keith Richards would be like keeping pace?
I knew they had people filling them out, but I assumed those people were just kind of like on stage, like towards the back. I didn't know they were like secret.
Yeah. No, there's secret musicians. I'm looking it up to see if the
how is that any better than playing with a backing track?
I believe it's pronounced Eddie Vedder than a backing track.
Offstage musicians and singers in popular music. There's a whole Wikipedia thing for it.
So we get to see Aftab, Admiral Akbar's child here again, in a suit, in a ship.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool.
Yeah, he's getting work.
He should be wearing a helmet. He's not. Especially like I do like those, the calamari helmets.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not going to be easy to fit in that cockpit.
Well, he could. I don't know. I think he's not being safe there.
No.
Yeah.
Also, he's attacking Star Destroyers, so also not safe.
I think ever since his father died, he's just very reckless, and he almost has kind of like a death wish.
Smoking a death stick while he's doing it. Yeah.
Death fish. So I'm distracted by the.
Ready? He's a Kamakarpsi pilot.
Oh, there you go. Hey. Yeah, that's a good one.
Or a Kamakalamari, I guess, would have been a better.
Oh, yeah.
I did what I could with the time I was given.
It was pretty good. Yeah, if we start getting into fish buns, this will be...
Mon Kamikaze. There it is.
Yeah,
perfect. There you go. Yeah, third one's a charm. Well, anything else for minute number 107? The fish.
They're trying to leave, and Finn, is like, wait, I've got to go do something. And Jana's just like, well, I'm staying with you. And my 12-year-old brain was just like smash cut to Jana just waiting outside the porta potty on the outside of the Star Destroyer.
Looking at her watch.
But we really should go now. And he's like, just a minute, hang on.
I'm almost Finn-ish.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, Finn, like a fish. I get it.
Oh, there you go. Oh.
See what we did there?
The Finn and the fish.
Cool.
Professional comedian, folks.
His name should have been Gil.
I also like that they just quickly threw like this weird romance thing where he's like, I got to take care of something. She's like, I am not leaving you, guy I met 2.5 days ago. It's like, geez.
Man, I think it's just like you're just going to get shot and killed if you go on your own. I'll stick with you just to keep you from.
I have my magic can hit anything bow. So
right, yeah.
I have my enchanted bow and arrow. So
like the D&D cartoon.
Yeah, it's just like Yondu. Just whistles it into a Sith trooper's backpack. Didn't even hit him in the head. Hit him in the backpack so he could really feel it, you know?
Right. Well, yeah.
Well, all right. I guess that will wrap up minute number 107. Hey, listeners. Did you know, I'm sure you do, that over on our Patreon, we've been reviewing the Ahsoka Shoka week to week. What do we think of it? Do we love it? Do we think it's okay? Or do we hate it?
Let's find out.
I can't reveal it here. You'll have to go to StarWarsMinute.com/Patreon, become a Patreon, get access to the Ahsoka reviews and more if you like. And then join us tomorrow for another Star Wars Minute.
Star Wars Minute.